Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here. Hope you're having a great day. Hope this video can make it a little bit better. Today we're going to be going over Heimerdinger and trying to give you a guide to break down everything with this champion, including his relic, starting deck, constellation, powers to look out for support champions, and we'll finally finish off with a ranking. Let's jump right in and first just take a look at the champion himself. So we have Heimerdinger, 5 cost Yordle, 2/4 as far as stats, and then he has the effect of when you play a spell, create a fleeting turret in hand with an equal cost, it costs 0. So whenever you play a spell, you're making a turret that based on the cost of the spell you played. So if you look over here, if you play a 0 cost spell, you get this turret. If you get a 1 cost spell, this turret, and so on and so forth through all these different turrets. All of them increasing stats, at least power. All of them have health down to 1 until you get to your 8 cost and higher. Any of those spells would create a T-Hex, so nice big 8/8 unit for you. So this is a very powerful effect for Heimerdinger. You want to get him on the board and just playing any spells, because then you're just constantly generating these turrets. Very, very good. Now his level up is I've seen you summon 12 plus power in tech allies. So all of his turrets are tech, and as you go through the constellation, pretty much everything you play, all units are going to end up being tech as well, so it's actually pretty easy to level him up. Now once he is leveled, when you play a spell, create a fleeting turret in hand with equal cost, so the exact same thing, grant it 1/1 and it costs 0. So essentially you're just giving them a extra 1/1 as far as stats. That is nice, but honestly just his effect of having him on the board is kind of good enough. But yeah, once he does level, you will be getting your turrets to be slightly bigger. Now his champion spell is Progress Day, so burst speed 8 cost, so if you play this you're going to get that T-Hex. Draw 3, reduce those cards cost by 1, then create a Heimerdinger in your deck. This is a solid card, good draw, but it is pretty expensive, so you don't really want to be running like Echoing Spirit or Grand General's Counterplan generally, because normally you're not going to have the mana to play this. Overall though, Heimerdinger is very good. Let's go take a look at his star powers. So here we have the constellation, starts right up here. So let's take a look. Tech allies in hand and in play have a random upgrade each time you spend 6 or more mana on spells. Now the way this works is just every time you spend 6 or more mana, so it's very similar to original Lux, where you don't have to spend all 6 mana at once like Jace. It's just any combination of spells you're playing that reach that 6 mana point. You're giving all of your tech allies a random upgrade. Now this says in hand or in play. Really the way these upgrades work though is it is a aura, so as long as those units are on the board or in your hand, they get this effect. So if you bring other units, like you draw another tech ally, just because it wasn't in your hand originally, doesn't mean it's not going to get this upgrade. As soon as it is in your hand or on your board, it's getting this upgrade, meaning the enemy can't get rid of these buffs. So if they try to silence your units, any increases you're getting from these upgrades aren't going to go away. It also means some of these upgrades give you some pretty crazy effects like Deathless. So normally that means your unit dies and they get resummoned, and then the keyword goes away. If you have the upgrade that gives your units Deathless, they're always having Deathless, so when they die, they're going to be revived, and again, they're going to have that keyword again. So this is a pretty strong effect. Now, as far as what these upgrades are, generally it's just stats and a keyword. Now, this can high roll, giving you some crazy effects like transforming all of your turrets into like sea monsters, giving them all 100 power, or making it so that when they die, they deal damage to the enemy nexus equal to their power. That being said though, those upgrades are very rare, and so you don't really want to count on them. Really just think your units are going to get a little bit of extra stats and some keywords every time you're playing 6 or more mana on spells. Now the second star power is actually fantastic. +1 starting mana, when you summon a unit, refill 1 spell mana. So this isn't a play effect, this is a summon effect. So anything that can summon units is exceptionally good, because every time you're summoning one, you're refilling 1 spell mana. You can really play this very similarly to like Nami, where when you play a spell, you refill 1 spell mana. As long as you're playing your spells correctly, you can just keep going and just get a massive amount of mana. It's the same thing here with Heimerdinger. You want to make sure you're casting the spell and using up your spell mana, and then you're trying to play a bunch of cheap units to refill your spell mana, so you can just keep playing spells to play more units. And this works exceptionally good for Heimerdinger, because every time you play a spell, you get a turret. So if you have Heimerdinger on the board, you play a spell, you get a turret, you play that turret, you get spell mana back, so then you can try to play more spells, so you can make more turret, and it just is a loop that you can end up flooding your board with units. This is a exceptionally good second star power, and you can build around this like crazy. Now for your third star power, It's the same thing as your first one. It's just now a improved pool of upgrades, so you're more likely to get better upgrades than you were before. Now, before we move on and talk about the rest of the constellation, let's go ahead and take a look at his starting deck. All right, so here's your starting deck with all of the upgrades you're able to get. Up first, we have Epic Scrap Traption. So this is very good. So it's 1 cost slow, but that does get upgraded to burst speed. To play me, spend all of your mana, summon a runaway Scrap Traption, grow its stats to that amount. This is really good. For one, you're playing this to summon a unit, so by playing this, you're actually getting 1 spell mana back, but it's also a very easy way to be able to spend a bunch of mana and trigger your star powers in order to try to get some of those upgrades going, so this is very nice for that. And when this is burst, you can use this as like a burst speed blocker or burst speed attacker, so the enemy doesn't have the opportunity to try to counter this, so very nice. That Scrap Traption, you see it right here. It says it's just a 1/1, but as you spend more mana, this gets bigger and bigger based on the mana you spend. Overall, very solid card. Next, we have the Wrench Bot. So 1 cost 2/2 because that's Stud Leather and Philosopher's Stone. When I'm summoned, draw 1. Now, this is actually one of the turrets that your Heimerdinger can generate. So if we take a look at Heimerdinger, you see right here, 1 cost. So if you play a 1 cost spell, you generate this card, and you generate it with all of these items. So that's actually something you can really play around with Heimerdinger. If you ever need draw, play any of your 1 cost spells, get more of these Wrench Bots, and you can then play them to get more draw. So this is actually a fantastic card, and a lot of ways you can benefit from these upgrades. Next, we have the Concologist. So 2 cost, 2/3. Play Manifest a spell from your regions that cost 2 or less. This is solid. You're playing a unit that's giving you 1 spell mana, and then it's generating a cheap spell for you, so that is overall solid. Next up then, we have the Golden Crush Bot. So this goes down to a 2 cost from that Ancient Coin, 2/5 stat line, but again, this is tech, so that's pretty important because this is getting the benefit of your star powers, and this is also contributing to Heimer's level up condition because it just says, I've seen you summon tech allies and 12 or more power. Now, you also have Aftershock, so 3 cost slow, deal 3 to a unit, or destroy a landmark. Really nice flexibility there. Get 1 extra damage for the Charging Sigil, and Summoning Beacon. So summon a follower with my costs from your regions. This is really one thing you want to be looking for with any cards you get with Heimerdinger. You want to try to look for spells that summon units, because since this can summon a unit, it then is giving you 1 spell mana back because of your 2-star. So pretty much just giving you kind of like some cost reduction, except in a better sense for Heimerdinger, because with Heimerdinger, you don't really want your spells to be cheaper because your star powers are off of the mana cost. But if you can just keep refilling your mana so you can play more spells, that is fantastic. So any spells that can summon units is great for you, but being able to get rid of an enemy unit here or landmark, summon a unit that can be a blocker, also refilling your mana, very nice. Here we have Flash of Brilliance. So 3 cost, create in hand a random 6 cost spell from your regions, refill your spell mana. So essentially you can play this for free. That's great. It's giving you half of what you need for another upgrade from your star powers. Then it's also generating a 6 cost spell. Overall, excellent card for you. Then we have Heimerdinger at 5. And then finally for 6, we have the Hexbliterator. This is excellent. So deal 6 to a unit. If it would die, obliterate it instead. This also is the Grifter's deck. So once you play this, shuffle some 1 cost copies so you can just have some great removal. Now the fact that this obliterates units is very nice because, as you see, completely removed from the game, doesn't cause last breath effects. There's some units that benefit from their units dying, and so by obliterating them, this doesn't count for that. Like if you're going up against like the Yeti Yearling or like the Poros, where as you kill their units, they get stronger and stronger. This doesn't trigger that because it's just obliterated. So overall, pretty solid. Actually, one that we slightly skipped over, Hex Tech Handler. So 3 cost tech, so again, counts for your star powers, counts towards your level up condition. Grant tech allies everywhere 1 power once you played a 6 cost spell this game. So this is a solid unit able to buff up your other units, but also since it's a Shadow Totem, you're summoning 2 units. So by playing this for 3 mana, you're getting 2 spell mana back. That's really what you want to be looking for anytime you see any effect that's going to summon units. Is just think, okay, this is actually giving me mana back based on the amount of units I'm summoning. So you somewhat are playing this only for 1 mana because you get that 2 mana back, which is quite nice. Overall, Heimerdinger has a very good starting deck and a lot of solid upgrades here. Let's go ahead and finish off his constellation. So you have your 3 stars. Right here, you have his 4th star. So when you summon a created ally, grant it 1/1. This is primarily going to be your turrets. To benefit from his 2nd star power, you're probably going to look for a lot of effects that do summon extra units. So just making all those summoned created units an extra 1/1. It's all right, not too bad. Now from here, you can go over and get upgrade. Your support champs have tech evolution, and you're going to see this a lot. Augment and becomes tech. So that augment gives you 1 power every time you play a created card, but the big thing is becomes tech. That way you're benefiting from your first and third star power, and you're also contributing to Heimerdinger's level up condition. Now from here you can go up and get Conkologist has, again, Tech Evolution. You've seen this a lot in the constellation. And then over here we have the 6-star. So Tech Allies in hand, which is normally going to be pretty much all your units, and in play, start the game with 3 random improved upgrades. Game start, summon a Wind Up Shredder. So you're immediately getting 3 of those upgrades, meaning you're probably just going to get essentially 3 keywords and some stats. And then you're summoning a unit at the start of the game, which remember is giving you 1 extra spell mana. So this is pretty simple and straightforward, but should really help you start the game with a pretty solid advantage. Now from here, the 4th star, you could go over. Right here though, we have 2 gemstone upgrades, so you probably won't be able to get these, at least not for a long time. Don't really worry about these. But then over here, we have Star of Bounty, so 1 reroll in gold, solid. Then we have the Star of Discovery. Followers you acquire in the adventure that cost 3 or more have Tech Evolution. So again, pretty much all of your constellation is just giving this to any units you're going to acquire. Down here we have the 5th star, and then we have another upgrade. A little sad that this is locked behind the 5th star, but the Hex Obliterator has Charging Sigil, so 4 extra damage. So this is going to be dealing 10 damage to a unit, which is pretty massive. And then we have 2 gemstone upgrades. Overall, it is a fine constellation. Pretty much all you're doing is giving all the units that tech, which is quite nice. That just means they benefit from your 1st and 3rd star power and help your Heimerdinger level up. Overall, the constellation has some nice upgrades, but nothing that is too crazy. With many other champions, there's like a certain upgrade you really want to go for and get. With Heimerdinger, I think he's actually fine to just leave at your 3 stars and then just upgrade him as you get the materials, but he's not a champ that I really feel like you need to rush through and try to get a lot of the upgrades very quickly. All right, let's take a look at some relics now. So starting off with the common relics, up first, if you're wanting to level him up quickly, then really you're just going to be wanting to use either your Cosmic Blessings or Greater Cosmic Blessings just to immediately power him up. If you're not wanting to use those though, then going for something like Lost Chapter to be able to immediately refill your spell mana isn't terrible. Although do note with Heimerdinger, similar again to Nami, you're not always getting the full benefit of any mana refill effects since you already have effects to refill your mana. So like when you play Heimerdinger, you're already getting 1 spell mana. So Lost Chapter is essentially only giving you 2 at maximum. So while this isn't bad, it's not quite as good as you might immediately think. Also going for like the Chameleon's Necklace, just so you get more copies of Heimerdinger. Not bad. He is a 5 cost though, so normally by the time you can play him, he's likely already been drawn. Starchild Staff, always an excellent one when you're starting out with a champion, just getting a little bit of extra sustain. You only start with 20 Nexus health, which is pretty low, and you don't really have any regen, so Starchild Staff can really help you when you're first leveling up a champion. And then as always, the Z-Drive Prototype, start adventures with some extra rerolls, just to make sure you get the right upgrades, can really help you out. When you're first starting your Heimerdinger, any of those I think would be a solid option for you. Now, as far as some rare relics, the Arcane Comment is pretty solid, especially if you're trying to go up against some tougher adventures, such as like Lysandra or Swain. So round start, create a fleeting falling comment in hand. So 6 costs, so just by playing this, you're going to be able to trigger your star powers, so that's excellent. Then just flat out obliterate a unit or landmark, really good. Also, since your Heimerdinger is going to be on the board when you're playing this, you're going to be generating a turret, and your 6 cost is actually your elusive turret, which is very solid. So this is a pretty good upgrade for your Heimerdinger, especially in certain adventures. Archangel's Staff, solid, but like we said with the Lost Chapter, sometimes you don't really need these mana refill effects because you can kind of handle this by yourself. So it can be good, but not quite as good as some other spell-based decks. Chemtech Duplicator, very solid. As always though, if you're ending matches before Chemtech Duplicator is really activating, then not really needed. But if you notice your game's going longer, very good to help double up your spells. So you can trigger your star powers twice as often essentially. So another solid option for you. The Condenser can actually be fun. The only issue is you have to actually attack with your Heimerdinger, but support, create a 1 cost 1/1 copy of my supported ally in hand. So you could support one of your turrets, and then since they are tech, they're actually going to get all of the buffs from your star powers, so they'll actually be a lot larger, but then you can play them just for 1 mana. But since you get 1 spell mana back, you can kind of play them for free. So this is one that you do have to rely on your Heimerdinger actually attacking, but this can be a fun one. Normally though, for Heimerdinger, you kind of just want him to sit on your board and not really do anything. It's pretty similar to like a Vagar. The effect of him just being on the board is enough. You don't really want him attacking or blocking generally, because you really just need to protect that champion. Some other effects though, like Blade Rack, allies have Challenger, Pretty nice, again, just to support your entire board, because normally once your Heimerdinger's on the board, you're going to have a full board because he's just generating all these turrets. So Blade Rack isn't too bad for you. Troll King's Crown, very similar, just allies have Overwhelm. Again, great way to just support all your units. And then also we have the Scourge's Stash. Now this one is very nice for you. Plunder, I cost 2 less. So with Heimerdinger, since his effect is so strong, you kind of want to get him on the board very early. So going for multiple of these just to try to play him as soon as possible can actually be valid, because even though you're sacrificing your other relic slots, getting Heimerdinger on this board as soon as possible is just the most beneficial effect you can normally do, because he's just generating so many turrets for you. You're playing those turrets for free, you're getting spell mana back, so you just start this crazy cycle once Heimerdinger's on the board. So cost reduction for him is actually excellent. That's pretty much it for the rare relics I want to highlight though. Let's go take a look at some epic relics. So up first we have the Swain's Raven Army. Power, game start, drain 5 from the enemy nexus. So this is very nice for 2 reasons. One, it's healing you 5 every game start, so that's good. But since this is triggering your plunder damage, you can then play your Heimerdinger as just a 1 cost, so you can get him on the board immediately. Now you can, instead of using Scourge's Stash, go for the Packed Powder, since it's just a better version. Even without the Packed Powder, just using double Scourge's Stash to get a 1 cost Heimerdinger at the very start of the game is excellent. So if you have Swain's Raven Army, this is a build I would suggest using. Now you can improve this later when you get to your 5 stars. Since you start with 3 mana, you could replace one of these for another relic and then play him as a 3 cost. So since you have the 5 starting mana, you still would have enough to play your Heimerdinger even without one of these. But even if you don't have your 5 star, playing him turn 1 is so good. So I would recommend trying this out with your Heimerdinger. As far as another rare relic, the Black Shield is quite nice. When you summon an ally granted Spell Shield, while you are a spells-based champion, you are also focused on your board and your units, and you want to protect them, so giving your units that spell shield is quite nice. We also have Heimerdinger's epic relic. So power, your nexus has tough. This is excellent, gives you a great amount of defense, but then I am tech. So this lets your Heimerdinger benefit from all of your star powers or your 1st and 3rd star power, getting all of those upgrades. So this is very solid, obviously works quite well with your Heimerdinger. We also have the Disciple of Shadow. So I cost 1 less for each ally in play, deal 3 to all of their allies. If you don't have any other cost reduction, this can be nice to again try to get your Heimerdinger on the board a couple rounds early. So another one that is decent to look out for. And then 2 last ones to finish out, we have Stack Deck and the Beast Within. So 200 starting gold, allies have 1/1 for every 12 cards in your deck past 18 at game start. So this can be really nice just trying to buff up your units even more, because you're normally trying to again have that full board, especially once Heimerdinger's on the board. And then the Beast Within is excellent. So power, allies have Overwhelm if they have a subtype 1/1. So all of your units pretty much are going to have a subtype, whether that's like Yordle or Tech. So all your units get an extra 1/1, and then they all have Overwhelm. This is excellent. And if you can, I normally try to fit the Beast Within in any of my Heimerdinger builds, although normally you are trying to get that cost reduction to get him on the board as soon as possible. But if you don't want to go for a cost reduction build, going for like the Beast Within is excellent. If you just want to double down on buffing up all of your units, the Stack Deck is great to give them even more stats immediately. Now, as far as example of a epic relic build, if you happen to have like all the epic relics, then I think this is probably one of the best you could possibly do. So Swain's Raven Army, Packed Powder lets you play your Heimerdinger at turn 1 if you have him at 5 stars, also gives you some good scaling. And then the defense spending, so you have really solid defense on your nexus, and then Heimerdinger is benefiting from all of your star powers. If you don't have as many epics though, but you at least have the Raven Army, I do really like trying to go for the double Scourge's Stash plus the Raven Army to be able to get Heimerdinger on the board as soon as possible, especially if you don't have him at 5 stars. So this can be a build that you don't need a lot of epics obviously, and you don't even need him very far in the constellation, but this one is also excellent. Other than that, if you only have rare relics, your build will really switch based on the content that you are currently doing. But here's a build that could work out, especially if you're going against some of the tougher adventures where you need some really hard-hitting removal. So the Obliterate, great for that. And then being able to buff up all your units, giving them Challenger and Overwhelm, quite handy. That's it for the in-game portion, though. Let's go look at what powers you might want to look out for, cards you might want to look out for, support champs, and then finish out with his rankings. All right, moving on to take a look at powers then. So up first here, we have Counterfeit Production. Round start, create a fleeting 0-cost counterfeit copies in hand. This is good for 2 reasons. For one, you're getting the normal effect of being able to fill your deck with more OP cards. Normally throughout a run, there's a couple cards that you really like to play, so just filling your deck with those, you get more copies of them, can be very good. But the big thing here is once your Heimerdinger is on the board, Playing this will give you a 0-cost turret, and then playing that turret gives you 1 spell mana back. So essentially, you're getting the normal effect, but then you're also getting a turret, also getting 1 spell mana, so it's a net positive for you. So very good, but also any of the effects that are just creating a spell at the start of the game, even the ones that cost mana, such as like the Blade's Edge or Forge, can be excellent for you. Because again, once you get your Heimerdinger on the board, those 1-cost spells create the turret that gives you draw on it. So this can be a really great way to just never run out of cards, because you're constantly getting some more draw. So while we show counterfeit production here, any of the powers that create spells every single round for you are excellent, especially when you get your Heimerdinger on the board. Next, then we have Whoosh. Game Start summon the Vestian Disciple. This gives you the elusive card that when they hit the Nexus, they get recalled back into a 2-cost spell that summons them again. That spell also has draw. So this is good for a couple different reasons. For one, summoning a unit at the start of the game gives you 1 spell mana. When this hits a Nexus, you then can play it as a spell, so help contribute to your star powers. Now, while it is a 2-cost spell, it again summons the unit, so you get 1 spell mana back again. So it's a great way to get some more draw, get some more units going for some more spells, and it just is a pretty good cycle for you. So while this one is a little bit more complex in how you can use it, any of the powers that summon unit at game start or just round start are excellent. So you go for the one for Sapling, one for the Armed Gearheads, the Emperor's Dais. Any of those are very good here. We also have the Biggle Dust Stash. When you summon a created ally granted 2/2, you're summoning a lot of created allies. This is just giving them a lot more extra stats. So this is excellent. Next, then we have the Trifarian Might. When you summon a 5+ power ally, it strikes the weakest enemy. You can get this off pretty consistently. Once you get a couple of those upgrades going, pretty much every unit you play can trigger this. So this gives you excellent removal, fantastic power. Allies have Overwhelm from the Crush. You're normally focusing on your board, having a whole bunch of units. So making sure you get that Overwhelm is excellent. Very same premise with the Deep Cuts. When an ally strikes the enemy Nexus, curse the enemy with Ichor. So this is great for you because since you're getting so many strikes off with all of your units, generally they're going to have this massive curse in their hand that you either have to spend a bunch of mana to get rid of, or they're taking a bunch of damage at every single round start. This is pretty good as well. Next, then we have Sorcery. Round start, refill your spell mana. Now you're not as reliant on this as many other spells based decks because you can refill your spell mana from units, but it is nice to have. Slow but steady. When you play a slow spell copied on the same targets, this is one to consider before grabbing. You only have 1 slow spell baseline in your kit, so while it is nice getting that one doubled, if you're near like the end of the adventure, you don't have any other slow spells, maybe try to get something else. But if you get this at like the start of the adventure, you can build around it, try to get more slow spells, then it can be excellent. Then we also have the Evolution. Allies have 1/1 for each keywords. You're giving your units a bunch of keywords from your upgrades, so also giving them extra stats with each one of those keywords is fantastic. Getting this will normally let you steamroll any encounter. Taking a look at support champions now. As always, not an exhaustive list, but some things you should look for in your support champions. So up first, we have summoning units. Anyone that can summon a bunch of units gives you more mana back, so that is excellent. And then we also have spells. Playing spells to get more units, trigger your star powers is very good. So any champion that comes with spells is excellent. As far as some examples, Aurelia, great for summoning units, great for having spells that summon more units, which is really what you want to look for. Also, we have Azir, fantastic for summoning a bunch of units. And then Ezreal, he comes with 2 support spells, so that is great as well. Taking a look at cards now, here on the left, we have Trail of Evidence. So 2 cost, create in hand a random 2-cost card from your regions. It costs 0 this round. This also happens to have the Brainworm. The opponent discards a card. Nice little bonus, but the Trail of Evidence is fine on its own. So this card, especially when you have Heimerdinger, is great because it's costing 2 mana, so you're getting a turret out of that. But then it's creating another 0-cost spell, so when you play that spell, you also are getting another turret, so you can play 2 turrets. They're both going to cost 0 from Heimerdinger. You're getting 2 spell mana back. So essentially you can end up playing this for free or get refunded the mana, so that is excellent. Next, we have 2 spells that kind of fulfill the same purpose. So they're both slow, so you could build around these with slow but steady. They're baseline 6 cost, but we do have some cost reduction for them, which normally is good. Still should somewhat consider if it's worth getting, because you don't always want to get cost reduction with Heimerdinger, but in this case it's fine. And then both of these are summoning 2 units. So you're getting the normal effects of the spell, which is great, but then you're getting 2 mana refilled when you cast these, so you can then potentially cast more spells. So overall, pretty good for you. You really like spells that generate units. Next, we have the Patrol Wardens. So this has some good buffs on it, but the main thing is that Mischievous Spirit. Attune, when summoned, create a prank in hand. The attune keyword makes them refill 1 mana when they're played, so essentially doing the same thing as your second star power. So when you play this card, you're getting 2 spell mana back, so that's fantastic. So often you can end up playing this and have it be a net positive for you as far as mana exchanged. Then you're also getting a prank in hand, so another spell you can play, contribute to your star powers. If you have Heimerdinger on the board, that prank can then give you another turret, so you can then refill that one spell mana again. Really, when you're playing your Heimerdinger, you're just trying to constantly play spells, to play units, to play spells, and you just keep going through this cycle and just playing as much as you can. Next up, we have the Mage Secret Conservator. Pretty simple, 1 cost, you play this, you get 1 spell mana back, so you can kind of play it for free, and then this also can generate a 6 cost spell for you. Then we have the Production Surge. This is fantastic. Normally want to pick this up anytime you see it as Heimerdinger. So slow speed to play, spend all of your mana, summon random turrets whose total cost equals the mana spent, so you're getting a bunch of turrets potentially. Those all have tech, they all benefit Heimerdinger's level up condition, they benefit from your star powers, and then also every turret that gets summoned is giving you mana back. So overall, excellent card for you. All right, taking a look at his rankings now. I think before level 20, he is about a B tier champion. Pretty solid, feels quite strong. But I think after level 20, he kind of stays in that range. Unlike some champions, he doesn't necessarily scale up too crazy from getting higher levels. While relics are nice with him, I think his power level stays pretty consistent while he is leveling, at least in relation to many other champions. As far as his pros, he has a very unique and fun playstyle, and that is also a very combo central playstyle, which I really like, but it's probably not for everyone. I love the fact that you're playing spells in order to often generate units or generate them with your turrets, playing those turrets to get more mana back for playing more spells, and it's just a really fun feedback loop that I really enjoy. Very unique playstyle, a lot of fun. The main issue though is he is very champion reliant. You need to have your Heimerdinger on the board in order to really fulfill that cycle of playing spells to get units, because he's the one that's generating your turrets, pretty much your only way to get those turrets, and so you really do need your Heimerdinger. As far as his regional rankings, I do think he is pretty mid. He's not the best in his regions, but he's also not the worst, so I think he really fits just as a mid-tier champion for his overall regional rankings. Overall though, a lot of fun. Definitely recommend trying him out. If you enjoyed this guide, if it helped you at all, a like and subscribe is greatly appreciated, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.